friends, what's up? Philip here with Points of Philip, and I'm actually coming to you because, well, there's some huge breaking news that, well, I'm admittedly a little late to the plate on. Chase has announced some significant changes to the Sapphire lineup. Actually, I'm sorry, not announced, executed some significant changes to the Sapphire lineup. And we're going to talk about kind of the big things that matter to you and kind of lay the groundwork for some other discussions we might have down the road. So before we do that, I'd like to go ahead and ask you guys to like and subscribe. Doing that helps me and YouTube to know that what I'm doing is helpful for you guys. And by doing that, it helps more people actually see the content, and that really helps me out, and well, it could help those other people out as well. So thank you so much for doing that. Hey friends, I'm interrupting this video because I want to talk to you about this really exciting, well, thing that I'm doing. So what I decided to do is I'm actually opening up channel memberships, and I'm going to kind of go into what each level is, because there's 3 tiers of memberships, and let's start with the first one, which is the Points Elite. And that one starts at $2.99 a month. And what this does is this is kind of the meat and potatoes, right? So you get priority reply to comments, you get access to members only community areas, and members only videos. And so I plan on doing one every Saturday. So we're going to project for a week, or for a month rather. And so basically these are more kind of think PC, kind of maybe a little bit more in-depth videos. These are videos that maybe won't do as well with the algorithm, but are still interesting to people in a points and miles space. And so that's what I'm going to focus on. Now, there's also going to be another second tier, and that's going to be the Elite Gold. So that's going to be $4.99 a month, and for that extra little bit of money, you will be able to access every single video before it actually is released to the public. And so every single video that I upload, you will have early access to as an Elite Gold member. Now, my final version, my final tier, is actually going to be called the Centurion Club, and that's $9.99 a month. Now, this is mostly just to be here for people who would really just like to have access to be able to support the channel in a more meaningful way. But also you do get some things as well. You'll be able to interface with me directly on social media if you choose. And then you'll also be able to, essentially be able to reach out to me to answer any kind of questions. I can do some light, rate my setup kind of things as well. And so that's going to be kind of where that goes. In addition to that, also, if you are in the Centurion Club and you are visiting my hometown of Orlando, I will be more than happy to meet with you. And, we can kind of explore the town a little bit together if our schedules line up. So anyway, thanks so much for joining me on this one. I can't wait to see what happens with this membership opportunity. And, just let me know how it goes. But anyway, back to the regular video. All right, so now that that's out of the way, let's get into the news of the day. And the news of the day is that it's Sapphire Day. And so Sapphire Day is basically essentially the official rollout of the new Chase Sapphire Reserve, Chase Sapphire Reserve Business, and kind of the beginning of the introduction of a rollout to an update to the Chase Sapphire Preferred. Now, it's not all going to be good news, but there is some of it that's good news. So let's get into it. So one of the things that I've noticed the most over the course of the day is that Chase is becoming very good at offering essentially membership tiers, right? So basically what they're doing is if you have a certain spend, if you are willing to pay a certain amount for an annual fee, well, you will be a little bit more rewarded. So let's start at the bottom layer and work our way up, right? So the Chase Sapphire Preferred card, which hasn't officially been updated yet, but it's starting to. That has still an annual fee of $95, at least at the time that I've recorded this video. And then essentially has a higher sign-up bonus of 75,000 Ultimate Rewards points. And so that actually comes after you spend $5,000 over the course of the next 3 months. And so this is actually the same spend that Chase had for the Chase Sapphire Preferred 100,000 point offer. And so this one's a little bit slightly less than that, but a decent amount higher than the traditional 60,000 point offer. And so it's compelling, right? So what was changed about this Chase Sapphire Reserve? So the Chase Sapphire Reserve used to have a 1.25 cent kind of baseline price floor redemption. So each point was 1.25 cents as long as you held the Chase Sapphire Preferred and then used those points for a redemption in the Chase Travel Portal. That's no longer the case. They now have access to what's called the Chase Boost. And, well, it's not really that beneficial, at least doesn't seem to be so far. If that changes, we'll dive into it and we'll talk about it together, right? But in the meantime, let's take a look at what else happens. So if you currently got the card or within the past year, the Chase Sapphire Preferred, you got an email this morning explaining everything about that boost to you. Now, what it also did was actually included a $50 additional credit through Chase Travel that's available through, well, the end of this day in 2026. So you can actually use that for a full year, that extra $50 credit. Now, this is actually for any purchase in Chase Travel, and so it doesn't have to be for a hotel, but you can actually use this to go along with the existing $50 annual hotel credit that's redeemable through Chase Travel. And so conceivably that could be worth up to $100 in the year. Now remember, that first annual fee is $95 for this card. So that's pretty interesting. All right, so that's the lower tier, and to be perfectly frank, that's the tier that I'm on because, well, a lot of these other cards are way too rich for my blood. But let's get into it. So the Chase Sapphire Reserve now is definitely a significantly higher card now, annual fee-wise. It's going to be $795. And so this higher annual fee is, well, you got to work for it a lot. So the Chase Sapphire Reserve was never really a very good value proposition, right? It did have the $300 travel credit, but you still had an extra, $250, the 300 to the 450, 550, so $250 of value that you really kind of weren't getting back. Right now, they fixed that problem. Could get up to $2,500 back with the Chase Sapphire Reserve, but those credits are a lot harder to get access to. But we're not going to talk about the credits because, well, that's this video. What we're going to talk today is about the fact that it is, first of all, now open. So if you did not have the Chase Sapphire Reserve and you applied for it today, first of all, you would get a way higher bonus. So that would be 100,000 points plus $500 in Chase Travel promo credit after spending $5,000 over the course of 3 months. And so that is really pretty interesting, right? And so 100,000 points can be a significant amount, right? Now, a lot of people were kind of hoping that it was going to be, say, 150,000 points, right, for a premium tier travel card, considering the fact that the American Express Platinum card can regularly hit 150,000 offers, even 175,000 point offers. But Chase Sapphire Reserve, it's rolling out 100,000 point offer plus $500 in actual Chase Travel Portal credit. And so what they're trying to do is they're trying to train people, and we see this, so that the extra $50 credit at the Chase Sapphire Preferred level and this $500 credit at the Chase Sapphire Reserve level. Chase is really trying to basically train people to use the travel portal because that's kind of where they're all digging into. And so, well, that seems like, as far as trying to figure out a way to make sure that this card is profitable in the future, it seems like this is the way that they're trying to go about doing that, right? And so that's kind of the whole thing that's going on. Now, there's been some other changes about how you can redeem those points, and then that's actually going to come in tomorrow's video. I just kind of wanted to focus on the news a little bit today, and then, well, we'll get into kind of the nitty-gritty and thinking through things tomorrow. But anyway, so that's that. But what we're going to do now is we're going to focus, change gears on the business cards. The Chase Sapphire Business Card, the Business Reserve, is really going to be kind of the top dog if you are in the business world, right? And the reason why I say it is because, well, the sign-up bonus has an insane spend. So the Chase, the Capital One Venture for Business, Venture X for Business, had an insane spending that, well, seemed astronomical, and, well, it definitely was. But the Chase Sapphire Reserve for Business now has a 200,000 point all-time high offer, but you have to spend $30,000 over the course of 6 months. Now, you do get 6 months to spend it, But it seems like this sign up bonus is really trying to weed out people who, well, maybe not have that serious of a business, right? I clearly have a business with this channel, but I will not be spending $30,000 in, stuff before I actually start, making money with this channel. And so that's going to be kind of an interesting little problem, right? So it's a high bonus, right? But it's a significantly higher spend, right? Remember, with the reserve, the regular reserve, you're getting 100,000 points, which is half that, but you only have to spend $5,000 over the course of 3 months. And so if you kind of increase that rate out, that could be $10,000 over the course of 6 months. But you're kind of tripling that. So the rate is significantly higher for the business card. So while it does have, some interesting benefits, it seems like Chase is trying to make sure that they're really targeting actual businesses that have a significant spend, right? And so if you're, kind of a mom and pop operation and you are using the Blue Business Plus and you're not really going anywhere near that cap, that $50,000 spending cap with American Express, well, then maybe this isn't the card for you. But the headline is that this has one of the highest Chase Ultimate Rewards sign-up bonuses that we've seen, and that's kind of the big deal, right? So Chase is really trying to hope that everyone's interested in this, and well, some of the credits may be a lot harder to use, and whether or not this is actually worth using, compared to other kind of coupon book style cards. Well, that remains to be seen, and in fact, we'll actually get to see it later this week in a video that I have planned coming up. So anyway, thanks so much for joining me on this. I just wanted to kind of get this information out there to you guys. But anyway, I'm sure you probably have comments or thoughts that you can leave in the comment section below. But anyway, thanks so much for joining me, and I will see you again tomorrow. Have a great day.